Hey everyone, welcome back and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm a principal partner enterprise architect here at AWS, and I'm joined today by Rama. Rama, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, sure. Hi, all. I'm Rama Ponuswamy. I'm a worldwide go-to-market specialist focused on hybrid edge as well as AML workloads landing up on EKS.
Awesome, it's good to hang out with you again. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back with you.
Yeah, glad to be back with you as well.
Awesome, so I'll just jump right into it. The weird part of my brain that lives so much in the data center working with hybrid edge. I got a lot of questions for you and kind of more than a healthy obsession with wanting to jump in and talk shop with you. So customers and partners alike, folks all over the place are talking about app mod and why it's so important and how it has to be the go forward mission. So can you help us understand why app modernization is so important and how does AWS help customers with that today?
Yeah, for sure. So customers think about app modernization when they're thinking about how do I shorten time to market, right? How do I roll out functionality much faster so I'm able to keep up with my customer demands as well as market changes, right? And also, how do I do all of that while strengthening my security and compliance models to meet my regulatory requirements as well? So, in order for customers to do all of that, customers usually turn towards going from a monolithic state to more of microservices-based applications, as well as using containers to power those microservices-based applications. So that comes with its own overhead because you're splitting something that was a single application into multiple microservices that could range into hundreds and thousands, which means that managing and orchestrating those containers at scale becomes a complex process and adds a lot of operational overhead for you to modernize your workloads. For that, AWS provides container management solutions. These are managed services that we provide today. If you take a look at my slide, I have them up. The solutions that we provide today are Amazon ECS, or Elastic Container Service, and Amazon EKS, or Elastic Kubernetes Service. ECS is the native container service that AWS has developed, whereas EKS is the one that we provide a managed service based on the open source Kubernetes environment as well. And we also have ROSA, or Red Hat OpenShift, on AWS for customers that are used to that Red Hat ecosystem of tools as well. On all of these solutions, AWS takes care of undifferentiated heavy lifting for our customers, so customers can focus on developing their applications and delivering features for their customers.
Yeah, we do talk a lot about undifferentiated heavy lifting and how we're going to obfuscate so customers can just go and clock out their code and focus on running their business. But the one thing we may not spend so much time about is explicitly the complexities that customers are facing while they're modernizing. Would you mind diving into that for us for a sec?
Yeah, definitely. So it's easier when you're just modernizing on the cloud, right? You're migrating your applications onto the cloud and just modernizing. As I mentioned, you just leverage one of our managed services, and it's as easy as it comes, right?
Yeah.
But in a lot of real-world use cases, customers are having to modernize across cloud, their on-premises data centers, as well as at their far edge locations as well. This is due to a variety of reasons that we see this, either to meet regulatory requirements, to meet low latency needs, as well as to have on-premises dependencies that have low latency requirements as well with the applications that are running on the cloud. So for these different environments, customers having to run different container management solutions, different tools to manage them, becomes a lot more complex for them to do it, right? So this leads to tool sprawl, higher operational overhead, unnecessary processes that they need to develop, as well as invest heavily in resources to train and manage these different disparate environments as well. So all of this leads to a slowdown of their overarching modernization initiative, which means they only get to reap the benefits of these modernization benefits way later than they expected it to.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head because almost every customer I speak to, when they say, hey, we're talking to orchestration, well, we're using Pagure, we're using Ansible, we're using Chef, we're using Puppet. In some instances, we're using Hiera on top of everything else. And it just, and more sprawl, more tools, more interdependencies, and it really dramatically hinders their ability to reap those benefits and come into the cloud anyway. With that said, can you help us understand what AWS provides customers that need to modernize explicitly in a hybrid or an edge environment?
Definitely. So if you take a look at my slide again, the options that you saw earlier on, all of them, EKS and ECS especially, provide hybrid deployment options, right? That includes customers being able to deploy EKS and ECS on AWS provided infrastructure options like Outposts, local zones, wavelength, and Snow as well. So customers not only get to deploy it on AWS infrastructure services, but today they can also deploy it on their own hardware. They already have invested on infrastructure and both their on-premises data centers as well as their far edge locations using our anywhere options, namely EKS Anywhere and ECS Anywhere, providing you a lot of flexibility and control over your environments as well. Yeah, so these are the different options that that AWS today provides services for customers to make it easier for them to modernize across not only just cloud but also their hybrid edge environments.
Oh, thanks. I guess one of the things that we really don't talk about so much, and it's not out of being deliberate, it's just one of those things where customers are so excited in wanting to do the migration and leverage and stretch their orchestration to the edge. They're not really thinking about the benefits that they're leveraging from using services like EKS and ECS. Would you mind helping us understand that a little bit better?
Definitely. So one of the key advantages of leveraging these solutions on hybrid as well as on the cloud is you get consistency and operational standardization that you can drive across all of your environments end to end. And this enables you to have more stricter governance control as well as to drive them much easier and faster across your enterprise as well. This also means a simplified support experience because you're not having to deal with multiple different vendors for multiple environments. For all of your environmental issues, you come to AWS and you get to depend on AWS expertise and guidance that we have developed over the years, managing these container solutions on the cloud.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like we're marching towards zero on that single pane of glass to ease that operational burden and point in time and say, hey, look, there might be a problem here. We should potentially engage support and work through the problem and solve it. Is that about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Awesome. So you and I, as many years as I've been doing this, I sometimes struggle to enunciate the differences between the different deployment options for EKS. You know, for example, given my background in running this on Outposts, how does it differ from running it on my own hardware?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, right? And a lot of our customers also have this question. So if you go back to my slides, it's a lot of different details there, but what it's trying to convey is that whenever you are deploying EKS on one of the AWS infrastructure provider options, such as Outposts, local zones, or wavelength, and Snow is different. I'll talk about Snow a little bit. But when you're deploying EKS in one of these three options, what you get is the same interface that you work with on the EKS Cloud Console. You get consistency in terms of your operational burden, but also in terms of how you're able to operate all of these environments spread across different areas, right? And there are some restrictions when you're using these as opposed to using it on the cloud. Like, for example, these options do not have managed node groups or Fargate available in Outposts, local zones, and wavelength. But the rest of the feature stack almost remains the same when it comes to using one of these options. But these are for AWS infrastructure, right? What if you already have infrastructure that and you're not looking to purchase anymore? Then you can obviously reuse that existing infrastructure by using EKS Anywhere, right? Today you can deploy EKS Anywhere on your own infrastructure, but also on AWS Snowball Edge machines for some of the far edge use cases. And it's fully operated by you. A key difference here is that with the AWS infrastructure options, we still manage the control plane for you. Whereas with the EKS Anywhere and EKS Anywhere and Snow, you manage the entire cluster, right? So you're taking a little bit of the management burden, but we are still available behind the scenes. Whenever you face an issue with EKS Anywhere, you get to depend on AWS for your support issues that we can come in and resolve for you.
Awesome. So it sounds like not only workload location, but it's also operationally we're providing a variety of different options to the customer where it's like 3 different options. Let me do it with me, do it for me. This seems to be a definite shift that we're starting to see, and it's awesome that we're able to meet the customer wherever they are. That said, if I as a customer am starting to venture down this path, what do I want to keep in mind when choosing one of these deployment options for EKS?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier on, when you're choosing one of Outposts, local zones, or wavelength, we are still managing control plane, which means that we are separating the control plane from the worker nodes, right? Which obviously means there is dependency on connectivity, right? So all of these options need you to have dependable connectivity between your worker nodes and the control plane that is residing on the AWS region, right? Having said that, the EKS on Outpost option today does offer a little bit of flexibility because we have a local cluster option where you are able to deploy the Kubernetes control plane on your Outpost machines, but this which lets you sort of operate through disconnectivity for up to 7 days.
Okay.
But this is still a primarily connected mode of operations, and beyond 7 days, it gets to it's not something that we recommend that you do.
Yeah.
Right. So that helps you sort of operate around disconnectivity, but these are still primarily connected sort of mode of operations, and you need to have dependable connectivity between AWS and your wherever your worker nodes are residing, mostly in your own on-premises data centers. Okay. So again, these are best fit for on-premises data centers, whereas if you're looking to run in an offline mode, air-gap mode, say you want to run it in a far edge use case, running it on a ship, on an airplane, run it anywhere where you don't expect to have a dependable connectivity, that's where the EKS Anywhere option serves as a better option, because today EKS Anywhere does not have any dependency with AWS in the region. So you can operate it completely offline without having to connect to AWS at all. We have some of our customers running it in a fully air-gap mode as well. Okay. And another key thing here is you can fit the entire EKS Anywhere cluster within a single node.
Wow.
So if you have a node that has 2 vCPUs, 8 GB RAM, and about 25 GB of storage, that's all you need to run an EKS Anywhere cluster. It can fit in completely within that single box.
Awesome. Before we jump into probably what's something that's on top of mind of folks for the other side of the coin on ECS, let's take a quick look at a video from one of our customers in Toyota Motors, North America, on how they went out and used EKS on Outpost to solve some of their complex hybrid modernization challenges.
I'm Kishore Janalgada. I lead the cloud program at Toyota. We are responsible for developer experience as well as cloud programs across the Toyota North America. And of course, helping our friends all over the world. We got thousands of applications, so lots of challenges and lots of moving parts. So that's where we started building this platform, which we call it Chauffeur. And that is where we are trying to converge people to use the best of the breed of the ecosystem, so people can actually adopt the cloud faster. The way we built Chauffeur is that we picked up Backstage from Spotify. So thank you, Spotify team, for that. It's pretty cool from the point of view of how they built it as plugins, but also they're thinking developer experience. And there are ways that you can plug that in, measure it, and then eventually build it into the Backstage platforms. And all the good practices that we built into Chauffeur naturally extend into AWS Outpost that is there closer to our robots. We were calculating back and we were looking at a hard savings of $10 million in the last 2 years, roughly over $5 million a year. So that's a significant number. For our customers, of course, it is going to be a faster adoption in the order of weeks. So for example, that $10 million I was saying, right? One of the classic examples that the teams that adopted this came back and told us is, look, now I know that I have saved 8 weeks of work because I didn't have to write 8,000 lines of code off this platform. So that's 8 weeks of work for a team of 10 people is a significant amount, both in time and this. And what that translated to is actually a more predictable delivery on their features for the product. So that is a significant added value to the market.
That is so awesome and wonderful to see. I remember in the early days when we were sketching out the architecture, we were thinking about art of possible. It is fantastic to see what they went through and implemented. And like I mentioned before, really want to hear about what the options are in ECS, because we saw what was possible with EKS.
Yeah, if you take a look at my slide as well, right, it provides very similar options, right? You have options to deploy ECS on the AWS infrastructure provider options like local zones, wavelength, outpost as well, and also Snow. But you also have the ECS Anywhere option that you can put it across. Right? A key difference here with ECS is irrespective of whether you're running ECS Anywhere or ECS on one of the infrastructure options, we still manage, or AWS still manages the control plane for you.
Oh, okay.
So the control plane still resides in the cloud. So there is, again, a connectivity dependency that comes in. Again, ECS Anywhere also has the tolerance, so it can continue to operate in a disconnected mode for a while, and your containers will still continue to run. Any management operations that you need to know, obviously, like adding new nodes or bringing up, containers newly, will need that connectivity back to the AWS region. But the rest of the options sort of remain the same. You can put it on one of the AWS infrastructure options, or put it on your own device, or put it on Snowball Edge. Another key thing about Snowball Edge with both EKS and EKS Anywhere and ECS Anywhere is that you can put it on far edge where you don't have much space to deploy your hardware, and that also comes again with the single throat to choke model, because you are able to depend on AWS for not just your hardware but also on anything that is going on top of that, like ECS Anywhere or EKS Anywhere as well.
That's awesome, Rama. And I really like the way you put the single throat to choke model, because ultimately that's what customers are looking for, where if they need help, they want to be able to run to somebody. But as we wrap up, Rama, can you help us understand what customers can do if they're interested in either of these options on the hybrid side for ECS or EKS?
Yeah, definitely. So as you can see, there's a lot to uncover here, right? Like, we have a lot of different options for you to adapt in a flexible manner depending on specific use cases that you have and your specific requirements. So if it's sort of little overwhelming for you, reach out to one of your account team folks, and they can connect you with a container specialist. We have container specialists that are focused on each region and each vertical that can readily help out, come on a call with you, discuss your specific requirements, and talk to you a little bit more about the options we have and provide you recommendations and guidance on which option that you can pick and choose to achieve your modernization benefits quicker.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rama. I really appreciate you coming out, talking shop with us today.
Thank you. It was great talking to you folks as well.
Awesome. So, folks, you'll want to stay tuned. We're going to be talking about something particularly interesting to me, and hopefully for you too, in regards to local data processing for real-time decision making. Please stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this.